Hey, Joe Zarzaur here with another segment of Zarzaur Law TV. Today we're going to talk about the interplay between workers' compensation law and personal injury law. It's pretty often here at the office that we get calls about injuries that occur at work and whether or not they have a case. So let me explain the answer to that question. It's somewhat complicated. First of all, in the olden days, before we had a bunch of laws governing virtually everything, if anybody injured you, you had a case against them. It could be your employer, it could be your doctor, it could be your lawyer, it could be your pastor, whoever. The common law gave you the right to sue for fair compensation for an injury. It didn't matter if it was your employer or not, for instance. Well, as we got more industrial and as our country became more and more business friendly, many states, virtually every state I believe now, has a set of laws that have passed through their own legislature that protects businesses from having to deal with lawsuits, real lawsuits. And this body of law called workers' compensation law developed in essence to protect businesses from having to pay big lawsuit judgments. And the way it works is this. The laws all say basically that if you're an employee and you're working and you get hurt during your job, you cannot sue your employer like a regular person. You only can go through the workers' compensation system to get your medical bills paid or your lost wages. And you may ask, why is that a big deal? Well, here's why it's a big deal. In workers' comp, you can't sue your employer for things like pain and suffering and mental anguish and loss of the capacity to enjoy life, inconvenience, disfigurement, disability. You can't sue for those things that really make us human, the things that really matter in life, like your ability not to be able to be with your family, or your ability not to be able to walk regular or pick up things because you lost 3 or 4 of your fingers in a job accident. Well, those are the things that make our cases, when you can sue somebody, valuable because they make us human. Well, in the workers' comp area, you only can get your bills paid, and then you get a very discounted amount for your disability rating. You don't get any of the damages for pain and suffering, inconvenience, the stress, the emotional toll it takes on you to have your arm amputated in a factory accident or worse, killed in a factory accident, and the family can't sue the employer for being negligent. So now there are very few exceptions to the rule for workers' comp. Basically in Florida, the employer has to almost intentionally hurt you before you can get around the workers' comp statutes and hold a business responsible. So the interplay is this. When you're involved in a workplace accident that results in an injury or death, the lawyer that's doing what I do is going to be looking for, okay, is there any other people we can sue? And let me give you a for instance. You could be on a ladder doing your job at work, and you could fall into a vat of chemicals that creates burns over 99% of your body. I've worked on this case. Well, we couldn't sue his employer for that because of workers' comp. But we did investigate the manufacturer of the ladder, the manufacturer of the tank, the manufacturer of the cover over the tank, and we were able to find a defect in the ladder that allowed us to go after the ladder manufacturer because the defect in the ladder made this person fall, and the fall ended up going to the top of the tank. There was a big vat of this chemical substance used in paper making, and he ended up basically just being submerged in this chemical, which burned his body. So, horrible facts, right? But the employer only had to pay workers' comp, and people have insurance for that. And so the employer didn't miss a beat because the insurance policy for the workers' comp policy paid all the benefits necessary, and the employer just keeps moving down the road. And that is, in essence, the purpose of workers' comp, is so that businesses don't get basically shut down because they're negligent. And it just sort of builds in, if you will, as a cost of doing business, the negligence of the employers. I'm not saying I agree with the law or think it's right, but it is the law. So our job is to figure out if there's any way around it, if there's other parties that we can go after that don't get workers' compensation protection, third parties in the business. For instance, if you're at your workplace and a vendor comes in, like a copier service, and they drop something on you and it hurts you, well, you were injured at work technically, but it wasn't your employer that injured you, it was a third party. So would you have a case against the third party? The answer is yes. So we analyze all those issues, but there's all kinds of interplay between third-party cases, products liability cases in the event of a ladder being defective. So there's all kinds of different considerations that lawyers that do this kind of work, especially ones that have done it as long as I have, can glean from just a story they hear about a workplace injury. You can't automatically assume that it's subject to workers' comp and I don't have any case. You have to listen to the facts of the case and decide, okay, is there any other party potentially that bears responsibility for this injury other than the employer? Many times the answer is no, but sometimes the answer is yes. And then in those exceptions, it's important that you speak to a lawyer that knows what they're doing, preferably a board-certified civil trial lawyer that knows and has handled many of these cases through trial. So if you have a workplace injury, you absolutely probably have a workers' comp case, but you should also visit with us about your potential case against any other party, because that's where the real recovery would be. If you have questions about a workers' comp or a workplace injury case, you can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you.